The Economic Ninja got it right. Hello and welcome to Sweet Home California. My name is Jennifer. I first was introduced to the Economic Ninja on one of my YouTube news feeds with the huge spike in lumber prices. He was predicting that the lumber prices would start falling again in the middle of the summer, sometime around July. And he was right. Prices have come down. We had seen here in California prices for plywood upwards of $110 for a sheet, whereas they were normally somewhere in like the $30 to $40 range, depending on the grade. And 2x4s went from being around $3 for a 2x4 by 8 foot long piece of wood, upwards to $8.97 in my local Lowe's and Home Depot. And that's just absolutely crazy. So finally, he said, don't worry, just put off anything that you don't need to do right now. The prices will come down. And they have. We are back down to below $4 for a 2x4. The plywood is taking a little longer to come down, but it's still about half of what it was at its peak. But it's basically a lesson in supply and demand that the lumber industry was forced to shut down because it was considered non-essential during the beginning of the pandemic, and they weren't making stuff. And they also didn't expect that people would want to buy stuff, because people, if you lock people down, they're not going to be able to do things. Well, with the stimulus and people being at home, the first thing they wanted to do was do home improvement projects. So then the demand skyrocketed where the supply did not. The supply was well below what it normally is. And that was the reason why we had this huge spike. And anyhow, then people stopped buying stuff because it was too crazy. And again, law of supply and demand. The demand went down and the supply was up, and they were forced to lower their prices. And now we can actually afford to buy some 2x4s and get some home improvement projects that we were planning to do around here. We're starting to get that done again. Well, anyhow, there's another prediction that the Economic Ninja is making, and I would recommend that you follow him. I am not an economist, and he claims he's not an economist either, but he's a really smart guy, and he pays attention to all this stuff that's going on, and he is predicting some more disruptions to supply chains, and he's pointing to things happening in Australia, things that are happening in Canada, where truckers are on strike. We had one sort of in America that I reported on August 31st, but I don't know if it just wasn't reported very widely or if it really wasn't that well supported. So I don't know exactly how, what kind of effect America had, but he is predicting that this coming up week, we're going to start seeing the effects of these supply chain disruptions. So he's just recommending what I've been recommending, that, hey, don't be crazy. Don't go out and buy things that you're going to regret, that you're not going to be able to use in the future. But you got to eat. There's certain things that you need, and you're going to need. You see that inflation is coming. There are certain things that probably won't come down in price very quickly. So if you've got the money now to stock up on certain things that you're going to need anyhow, you might as well buy them now. And I would put, food in that category. Fuel is really hard to safely store, so I really wouldn't recommend that. But, if you've got a propane tank that you can, or an oil tank that you use your heating, and do energy at your home, I would have that topped off. I wouldn't wait. I wouldn't leave it at, 10% thinking, I don't need heat right now. But you are going to need it. You're going to need it. Cold weather is coming. So, water, if you need water, get that. Storms happen, power goes out, generator, that's, something that is useful to have. I survived the ice storm of 1998 in upstate New York in February, and we had no power for about 3 weeks. So we got a generator, and ever since then, if we have the means, we have a generator on hand. And we got a dual fuel one, so it can use gas and it can use propane. And gas is, as I said before, is really hard to store. I don't know if you remember seeing people that was affected by the Conoco oil pipeline being shut down, that people were supposedly putting gas in plastic bags. Yeah, and then immediately started eating through the plastic bags and it runs out. Well, even if you put it in a certified 5-gallon jug, um, gasoline doesn't stay stable for very long. You really, anything more than about 6 months to a year, and you're going to start having problems with that gasoline. So it's not something you can store long term. You can put stabilizers in it to help, but that's why you're supposed to clear out your lawnmower and your snow blower, after the end of the season, so you don't have old gas in it when you go to start it the next time, or you have problems with the carburetor, gets gummed up. But propane stays. You can use that for years. It's stored in a container, and that'll last for a long time. So if you have the option of getting a dual fuel generator, that's something I would recommend, because people that are um, going through the hurricane on the East Coast, there's a lot of people without electricity. So it's one of those things that it's not crazy to have a generator. I would recommend it. If you have some extra money for food, I would go ahead and buy it. You're going to need it eventually. Just get stuff that you're going to eat anyway. And if nothing happens with the supply chain and your grocery shelves are still full, well, you're already set. But on the other hand, if shipping supplies are disrupted and you go in and you don't have the rice on the shelf, you don't have the noodles, you don't have the meats, well, aren't you going to be happy that you went ahead and bought it now? So anyhow, check out Economic Ninja. I think he's real fun to listen to, and he's generally upbeat, like I try to be, because God is in control, and we're told not to fear, not to worry. God's going to take care of us, but then on the other hand, he does expect us to cooperate with him. So please do that. Keep the faith, and God bless. Talk to you later. Bye.